The road was crowded and noisy, the kind of road where people only cared about reaching their destination and never about the faces around them, and in the middle of this chaos stood a man everyone feared, the Mafia boss, though very few people on that road knew his real name or the heavy life he carried behind his sharp eyes and dark suit, and beside him was a small girl sitting quietly in a wheelchair, her hands resting on her lap as she watched the world move too fast around her, and this girl was Ava, his disabled daughter, the only soft part of his hard life, the only person who could make his dangerous world feel peaceful. That afternoon, Ava had begged him to take her outside because she was tired of walls, tired of hospitals, tired of watching life through windows, and even though he knew the road was risky and full of dangers, he could not say no to her hopeful eyes, so he carefully pushed her wheelchair, shielding her with his body as cars passed too close and people brushed by without looking. His hands, known for power and control, trembled slightly as he tried to guide the wheelchair over broken pavement and uneven stones, not caring who saw him or what they thought, because at that moment he was not a feared man, only a father. Suddenly, a sharp voice cut through the noise, filled with panic and anger, and it was Lily, Ava's mother, who had spotted them from a distance and rushed toward them with fear burning in her chest, her heart pounding as she imagined accidents and pain. And without thinking about the crowd or his status, she began to scold him loudly, asking how he could be so careless, how he could risk their daughter's life on such a dangerous road. And her words were heavy, full of years of worry, sleepless nights, and silent tears. People slowed down, some stopped completely, staring in shock because they could not believe what they were seeing, a powerful man being shouted at like an ordinary husband, and yet the Mafia boss did not raise his voice or show anger, he simply listened, his eyes fixed on Ava's face, searching for fear or regret, but finding none, because Ava was smiling softly, enjoying the breeze on her face and the simple joy of being outside. Lily's voice grew louder, not because she hated him, but because she loved Ava so deeply that fear had become her language, and she reminded him of hospital visits, of falls, of moments when Ava cried in pain, and each word felt like a knife because he remembered all of it too, every helpless moment when money and power could not fix his child's broken legs. The road felt smaller as more people gathered, whispering, judging, some blaming the mother, some blaming the father, and some simply enjoying the drama without understanding the pain behind it, while Ava sat quietly, her small fingers gripping the wheelchair, her eyes moving between her parents, feeling confused and slightly ashamed, as if she were the reason for the anger. The Mafia boss finally spoke, his voice low but steady, saying he only wanted Ava to feel normal for once, to see the road, the people, the colors, to feel like other children who walked freely without thinking about steps or wheels, and his words carried a sadness that silenced even the traffic for a moment. Lily froze, because she knew he was right, but fear still held her tightly, and before she could reply, Ava spoke in a soft voice, saying she was happy, that she liked being outside, and that she trusted her father. That simple sentence hit Lily harder than any argument, because she realized her anger had made Ava feel like a burden instead of a blessing, and the crowd felt the shift too, sensing that this was not a fight but a family breaking under pressure. The Mafia boss tightened his grip on the wheelchair, promising silently that no matter how dangerous his world was, he would always stand between Ava and harm, even if it meant standing still on a crowded road while the world watched and judged, unaware that this moment was about to change everything when a stranger, unseen until now, was already stepping closer, ready to speak words that would leave a deep mark on all their lives. The stranger who had been watching from the other side of the road finally stepped forward, and though no one knew her name yet, her calm walk and steady eyes made people slowly move aside, creating a small path for her as if they felt something important was about to happen, and this woman was Grace, an ordinary-looking woman wearing simple clothes, but her face showed the kind of strength that comes from experience and silent struggles, not from power or fear, and as she came closer, she saw Ava sitting in the wheelchair, her small feet resting still, her eyes trying to stay brave even though the tension between her parents was heavy, and Grace remembered her own past. Moments when she had seen children treated as problems instead of miracles, moments that had once broken her heart. And that memory gave her courage to speak. She stopped beside Lily first, not facing the Mafia boss, because she knew a worried mother needs understanding before advice, and she gently said that she could see the fear in Lily's eyes, the fear of losing a child, the fear of one careless moment changing a life forever, and Lily, surprised that a stranger could understand her pain so clearly, fell silent for the first time since she arrived. Grace then turned her head slightly toward the Mafia boss and said something that shocked the crowd, saying that it takes a different kind of bravery for a father to stand on a busy road with his disabled child, knowing the world will judge, stare, and whisper, yet still choosing love over comfort, and her voice was not loud, but it carried weight, the kind that makes people listen without realizing why. The Mafia boss looked at her with curiosity instead of anger, because no one had spoken to him like that in years, not with fear. Not with respect, but with honesty. Grace then knelt slightly to Ava's level, smiling warmly, and told her that she was strong, not because she sat in a wheelchair, but because she dared to go outside and face the world, and Ava's eyes widened, her lips slowly forming a smile that seemed brighter than the afternoon sun, and for the first time that day, she felt seen not as a weak child, but as a brave one. The people around them began to feel uncomfortable with their own thoughts, because many of them had judged silently, assuming things without knowing the truth, and now they stood there realizing how easily they had turned pain into entertainment. Lily's anger slowly melted into tears as Grace's words settled into her heart, and she suddenly understood that her fear had made her forget one important thing, that Ava needed life, not just safety, and that keeping her hidden from the world would not protect her soul. She looked at her husband, at the man she had shouted at moments ago, and she saw not a careless father, but a man trying to give his daughter a normal memory in a very abnormal life, and the guilt hit her hard. The Mafia boss remained silent, but inside him, Grace's words were tearing down walls he had built for years, walls that told him power meant control, not tenderness, and he realized that this road, this moment, was teaching him something his dangerous world never could. Ava reached out and held her mother's hand, squeezing it gently, and that small touch broke Lily completely, because it reminded her that Ava understood more than she ever said. The noise of the road slowly returned, cars moving, people walking, but the space around them felt different now, calmer, softer, as if the city itself had paused to breathe. Grace stood up again, saying one last thing, that parents do not fail when they make mistakes, they fail only when they stop listening to their child's heart, and with that, she stepped back slightly, not wanting attention. Not wanting thanks, just hoping her words would stay. The Mafia boss nodded slowly, a silent thank you passing between them, and Lily wiped her tears, taking a deep breath, knowing this moment would stay with her forever. Ava smiled again, looking from one adult to the other, feeling for the first time that the road was not just a dangerous place, but a place where understanding could also be found, and none of them knew it yet, but this simple encounter with a stranger was the beginning of a change that would shape their lives far beyond that crowded street. After Grace stepped back, the air around them felt heavier but also strangely peaceful, as if everyone present understood that something meaningful had just happened and could not be undone, and the Mafia boss slowly took a deep breath, realizing how rare it was for him to stand in public without fear, without anger, and without the need to prove his strength, and instead feel exposed in the most honest way, as a father who could be hurt. He gently adjusted Ava's wheelchair, making sure she was comfortable, and then looked at Lily with tired eyes that held years of unspoken emotions, and for the first time that day, he spoke not as a powerful man but as a husband, telling her that every time Ava asked to go outside, it felt like a test between protecting her body and feeding her soul, and that he lived every day afraid of failing her in one way or another. Lily listened quietly, her heart aching as she realized how alone he must have felt carrying that fear by himself, because she too had been carrying her own fear, but instead of sharing it, she had turned it into control, believing that if she guarded Ava tightly enough, nothing bad could happen. As they stood there, Ava looked up at both of them and asked in a small, innocent voice why people always stared at her, and the question cut through the moment like a blade, because it was the truth neither parent wanted to face openly. And Lily felt tears fill her eyes again as she realized that no amount of hiding could protect Ava from curiosity or cruelty. The Mafia boss bent down slightly, meeting Ava's eyes, and told her that people stared because they did not understand, and that understanding takes time, but her job was not to disappear, it was to live proudly, and hearing those words, Ava nodded slowly, as if she were storing them deep inside her heart for days when she would need strength. Around them, some of the onlookers began to move again, but a few stayed behind, not out of curiosity now, but out of quiet respect, and one older man even helped block traffic for a moment so they could stand safely, showing that kindness can spread silently when someone dares to begin it. Grace watched from a short distance, her heart heavy yet hopeful, because she knew moments like this rarely happen, and when they do, they deserve space to grow. Lily finally reached for her husband's hand, her fingers trembling as she apologized sincerely, saying she had not meant to humiliate him or make Ava feel like a problem, but fear had blinded her, and he squeezed her hand gently, telling her he understood, because fear had shaped his life too, just in different ways. Ava smiled when she saw her parents holding hands, feeling warmth spread through her chest, because all she had ever wanted was to feel safe and loved, not trapped. The road noise faded into the background as the family shared this quiet understanding, and the Mafia boss realized that for all his control over the city, he had never truly controlled the most important thing, his own vulnerability, and now that it was exposed, he did not feel weaker, but lighter. Grace finally turned to leave, not wanting to interrupt the healing she had unknowingly started, and as she walked away, she felt a small sense of peace, knowing that sometimes strangers cross paths not by accident, but because life needs a gentle push in the right direction. The Mafia boss watched her go for a moment, committing her face to memory, not because he wanted to repay her with money or favors, but because she had given him something rare, a reminder that even in a hard world, softness has power. Lily adjusted Ava's scarf and brushed her hair lovingly, promising herself that she would try to let Ava experience life instead of just surviving it, and Ava, feeling the shift in her parents' hearts, looked at the busy road again, no longer seeing it only as a place of danger, but also as a place where courage, love, and understanding could meet, and in that moment, the family stood not as broken pieces, but as three people learning how to walk forward together, even if one of them did so on wheels. The family slowly began to move again, the Mafia boss carefully pushed Ava's wheelchair forward, his pace slower now, not because of fear, but because he wanted to stay present in the moment, and Lily walked beside them, her hand resting gently on Ava's shoulder as if reminding herself that her daughter was real, strong, and growing despite every challenge life had placed in her path. The road ahead still looked rough, with broken sidewalks and impatient drivers, but something inside Lily had shifted, and instead of seeing only danger, she now saw opportunity, the opportunity for Ava to learn, to observe, and to feel like she belonged to the world outside their guarded home. Ava watched people pass by, some smiling kindly, some staring without shame, and for the first time she did not shrink under their looks, because her father's words echoed in her mind, telling her that her job was not to disappear but to live proudly. The Mafia boss felt a strange mix of emotions as he pushed the wheelchair, remembering how he had built his entire life on fear and control, believing that showing weakness would destroy him, yet here he was, exposed in public, feeling more honest than he had in years. Lily glanced at him and noticed the softness in his expression, a side she rarely saw, because life had forced them both into constant defense mode, and she realized that their marriage had quietly suffered under the weight of Ava's condition, not because of lack of love, but because of too much fear. She began to talk, slowly and openly, sharing how every night she lay awake imagining accidents, surgeries, and futures she could not control, and how that fear had made her sharp and distant, and as she spoke, the Mafia boss listened without interrupting, understanding that this honesty was something they had avoided for too long. Ava listened too, learning that even adults struggle, that strength does not mean being fearless, but choosing love even when fear is loud. As they reached a quieter part of the road, a small group of children passed by, laughing and running freely, and Ava watched them with a familiar sadness, but this time, instead of turning away, she waved at them, and one little girl waved back without hesitation, a simple moment that filled Ava's heart with unexpected joy. Lily noticed this and smiled through her tears, realizing that not every interaction would hurt, and that by hiding Ava away, she might have been stealing moments like this from her. The Mafia boss stopped the wheelchair for a moment, crouched down beside Ava, and promised her that he would always try to show her the world, even if it scared him, because she deserved memories, not just protection, and Ava wrapped her arms around his neck as best she could, whispering that she felt safe with him, a sentence that meant more to him than any loyalty oath or business victory ever had. Nearby, a few strangers who had witnessed the earlier scene watched quietly, no longer seeing a feared man or a fragile child, but a family learning to heal in public, and their silence felt respectful, almost protective. Lily took a deep breath, feeling lighter than she had in years, and silently thanked the stranger who had stepped in when she needed it most, understanding now that help sometimes comes from unexpected places, and that accepting it does not make one weak. As they continued forward, the road no longer felt like an enemy, but like a teacher, reminding them that life will never be smooth, but love, patience, and understanding can turn even the roughest path into a journey worth taking, and though none of them said it out loud, they all knew that this day had marked a turning point, one where fear loosened its grip and hope quietly took its place. By the time the sun began to lower in the sky, casting a warm golden light over the road, the family had reached the small street market Ava had wanted to see, and though it was not grand or special, it felt like a victory, because they had arrived together, carrying not just a wheelchair, but a new understanding of one another. The Mafia boss parked the wheelchair near a fruit stall and watched Ava's face light up as she studied the colors, the shapes, and the simple joy of people living ordinary lives, and in that moment, he realized that all his wealth and influence meant nothing if his daughter could not share in these small human experiences. Lily stood beside them, calmer than she had been all day, noticing how Ava asked questions, laughed softly, and absorbed the world around her, and she felt a deep regret for the times she had said no out of fear instead of listening to her child's needs. Ava pointed out small details, like the sound of coins clinking and the smell of fresh fruit, and each detail felt precious, because it reminded her parents that life is made of moments, not just safety plans. As they stood there, the Mafia boss spotted Grace in the distance, walking away with her groceries, and without thinking about pride or reputation, he gently called out to her, thanking her for speaking up when it mattered most, and Grace turned back with a surprised smile, saying she had only spoken what her heart told her to say. Lily walked over too, her voice steady as she thanked Grace for reminding her that love should not be ruled by fear, and Grace simply nodded, saying that children like Ava teach the world how to be kinder, if only people are willing to learn. Ava watched this exchange quietly, sensing that Grace had played an important role in her day, and she lifted her hand in a small wave, which Grace returned warmly before continuing on her way, disappearing into the crowd as quietly as she had arrived. The Mafia boss then turned his attention back to his family, feeling a sense of peace he had not known in years, because for once, his life was not about power struggles or survival, but about presence and connection. Lily leaned against him slightly as they prepared to leave, and in that simple gesture, he felt their partnership strengthening, built not on fear or control, but on shared responsibility and honesty. Ava rested her head back, tired but happy, and said that this had been one of the best days she could remember, a sentence that stayed with both parents as they began the journey home. The road ahead was still uncertain, filled with challenges, stairs, and difficult days, but they no longer felt alone or broken, because they had learned that facing the world together made it less frightening. As they moved away from the market, blending back into the city, the Mafia boss understood that true strength was not about being feared, but about being present for those who depended on him, and Lily understood that protecting her child also meant allowing her to live fully. Ava closed her eyes, holding on to the memory of the day, the road, the stranger, and the love she felt, knowing that even if her legs could not carry her, her life could still move forward with courage. And so, on an ordinary road, through an ordinary act of kindness, a family changed, proving that sometimes the most powerful moments in life are not planned, but simply felt.